Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger and welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East update. I'm actually recording this on Tuesday, the day of our elections. It's for the week of November 11th, but for a couple reasons. I know the news is going to be filled with the results of the elections, and I kind of want to talk before those results are in. Also, Sharon and I are leaving for Australia tomorrow. We have the opportunity to speak in two different venues, one in Kalgoorlie, the other in Mandurah. We'll spend a week in one place and a week in the other talking about Israel, talking about our ministry, Holy Ground Explorations. And so appreciate your prayers for that. And we're never quite sure internet access because it takes a bit to upload these. So it may be over the next couple weeks that you'll just find a PowerPoint presentation on our website. And again, our website, holygroundexplorations.com. Go there right now to make sure that you access the PowerPoint presentation for this video. Okay, let's think a little bit about the issues. Obviously, we're staring the election in the face from an Israeli viewpoint or an Arab viewpoint. The Arabs view the U.S. elections with indifference and maybe even just loathing. Trump is seen as hostile to Muslims, unpredictable, while some, primarily Israelis, blame former Secretary of State Clinton for all the regional issues and problems that are going on today. Other things that have happened in Israel, a Palestinian policeman opened fire at a checkpoint at the entrance to Ramallah. He opened fire on IDF troops using a Russian rifle. 3 were injured. Once again, this is the so-called peace partner. This is not some lone wolf radical Islamic terrorist. This is a member of the Palestinian police force. And then finally, a grim discovery this week. I don't know if it's been reported that much in the news, but it's a reminder of the real war, not such spiritual war, that's taken place. Iraqi forces that were closing in on Mosul discovered over 100 decapitated bodies in a mass grave. And once again, it is a spiritual war, but it is a physical war as well. And Christians need to be aware of what's taken place. I'll just leave it at that. You can take a look at this next slide. It says UNESCO, a can of worms. That is a portion of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't think this should come as a surprise, but the Palestinians now are claiming ownership of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They say that since the Qumran caves are in the Judean desert beyond the so-called Green Line, that Israel has taken possessions of these texts illegally, and that they actually belong to the Palestinians. Again, think about it. The Dead Sea Scrolls validate both the Jewish and Christian Bibles. The legitimacy, the accuracy of the text is just amazing. What in the world would the Palestinians want? Why would they want to claim ownership of a text that predates the Quran by decades? It's just insanity, but should not come as any surprise to us. And then as we think about what's going on, and when I mentioned the spiritual war, like in Mosul being physical, but the spiritual warfare that's taking place, we never want to minimize. The question is are the Palestinians really ready for peace? And despite what you think about this election, think about all the information that is just a keystroke away. Think about the negative ads that have been bombarded on TV and social media. We just can get so much information. And sometimes we might think that it's just, we're just privy to it here in America. But the reality is that Palestinians, like others in the world, have become major active internet users. Nearly 2/3 report having a computer, over half use a smartphone. Young people obviously form the majority of users, but with this level of penetration, the internet is already playing a significant social role in their lives. And so the question is, what's been trending? And we can chart this now with the so-called hashtag movement. In Israel today, in the West Bank area, in the so-called Palestinian enclaves, the most popular recorded hashtag is, quote, hashtag it will not be divided. This centers in on thwarting the imaginary secret plans of the Israelis to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, a popular theme of Islamic leaders who use this issue simply to incite violence. But it doesn't stop there. The other hashtags are, continue with the theme of violence. Hashtag the Intifada continues. Hashtag Palestinians must resist. Hashtag the Intifada of knives. And so there's just so much out there that, it's sort of like, it's not a surprise that one of the titles of Satan is that he's the prince of the air. And I think of the airwaves, and just now this explosion of social media that we need to be mindful of. Next issue, you can take a look at this, something that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but it is going to be a major issue, the Temple Mount. Over the years, we've stopped going to the Temple of Mount on our tours because of just the sense of the demonic presence there, the waft that controls it. Again, it's just not worth the time, but there's a growing movement among Temple Mount activists. In fact, they've convened in the Knesset this week, and they're urging the Prime Minister to, quote, open the gates once again to Jewish prayer. You remember Yehuda Glick, who's now a Likud member of Knesset. They attempted to take his life, to assassinate him. He's one of the leaders of the call to allow Jews back on the Temple Mount, and this movement seems to be growing. So remember, when this chessboard is in place of the end of days, the central crosshair location is not just Jerusalem. Zechariah tells us that Jerusalem will be a cup of trembling, but it is the Temple Mount. Back to the social media, hashtag it must not be divided. So let's be wary, keep our eyes open. When it comes to Israel's thoughts about Trump or Clinton, I'll let you read this for yourself. The bottom line is that where there are two Israelis, there's three opinions. Generally speaking, most Israelis believe that Trump would probably be better for Israel. I mean, his comments about moving the embassy to Jerusalem, he won't tell them where to build in the West Bank. He'll probably not push a two-state solution. It's probably a better place, better for Israel, and yet the majority of Israelis are Democrats and even in knowing this, they'll still support Clinton. So that's probably what's going on as we speak. And then as we close, you can take a look at our Torah portion this week. It's very simple. It's the promise that God made to Abraham that remains today. I'll bless those that bless thee, and I'll curse those that curse thee. Monumental, foundational, still in effect today. I'll let you read that on your own, as well as our kind of Selah moment for the week is to define joy. What is joy? But I'm going to end with what I call our weekly Obama watch, because there are those that believe that once the election's over, that this time period is a major concern for Israelis with Obama as a lame duck president. This was an article from the Haaretz newspaper in Israel. Of the two main candidates for U.S. president, the Palestinians prefer a third, says the writer Hussam Zalet, the strategy advisor to the Palestinian president Mahmoud Abbas. He says, our best candidate right now is neither Trump nor Clinton, but it's Obama. He says, in his remaining time in office, he has a golden opportunity to determine the next administration's position towards the Palestinian issue. And as we've reported over the last month, it's a concern. People are deeply, deeply concerned that the president will seek to sort of stick it to Israel one more time on his way out of office. And there are those that believe that Obama would have been even more hostile to Israel than he has been periodically if it wasn't for pressure from some of the major donors in the Democratic Party, as well as from the American people who remain overwhelmingly pro-Israeli. But I think it's a concern. I think it's something that we need to keep our eyes on. So this will become our weekly Obama Watch. With that, may the Lord bless and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you. And may we all experience his shalom. And remember, don't forget, no matter what the results of the elections might be, he, that is Yeshua, that is Jesus, is still King of kings and Lord of lords. Amen? God bless you. And remember to be praying for us in our time in Australia.